Hello, welcome to part 4, I think. Probably part 4 of Our Life Now and Forever. Yay! Okay, let's continue. So we're going home from school now, I think. Mum held the door open for you and Tamarack to drop by, then she followed you out. Your first day of school was over. You took the same exact path out as you had come in, just going the opposite way, down the stairs, through the checkered hall, and out the big double doors at the front. But when you were outside, the way home changed. You had to go through the almost empty parking lot at the side of the... Oh no. Okay, I'm terrible at reading out loud, so bear with me. You had to go through the almost empty parking lot at the side of the school building. Mum had brought the car to come get you. Wispy clouds hung over your group of 3. Nobody else was out. They'd already gone home or were probably teachers who were still in the classroom. Tamarack ran freely across tarmac. It was easy to figure out which car to go to when nobody else was parked anywhere close by. You and your mum strolled side by side until you rejoined Tamarack by the vehicle. Once she unlocked it, Mum opened the back side door. You were too little to sit in the front, according to her. Oh. Dude, when I was 10, I was already sitting front seat. Mostly because I was car sick. That meant Tamarack would be too small too. You were taller than her. But you found out that Tamarack didn't want to sit there. She liked the middle. It was funny how round and weird it was. She also liked being able to see up to the front easily. While you both buckled in and Mum got into the driver's seat, Tamarack told you about how she'd poke her Omi or Opa from that spot all the time. Even though neither of them were in the car, she was happy to choose the middle anyway. You like the window seat, or you want to sit in the front? She was crazy for liking such a bad spot. You wanted the middle, so it was good she'd take it, make it different wherever you sat. Middle seat was your favourite too. I like the front seat. It's been my seat for like a long time. So, I don't usually sit anywhere else, unless I'm in someone else's car. It was what my mum wanted though. After Mum double checked that everyone had their seatbelts on, she pulled out of the school lot. You jiggled in the firm cushions because of all the vibration of the car. The seatbelt wasn't just good for crashes, it also could stop you from slipping out of your seat on the bumpy roads. It was quiet, besides the humming sound that also came from the way the car moved. The world looked different from the back seat of the car. A blur of golds, browns and reds filtered out of the corner of your eye. From what you could see ahead, there was an endless stream of blue coming at you. And then it all slowed down. You could see individual trees and each of their branches and the leaves that hadn't fallen, and the sky seemed more solid. Your neighbourhood was already in reach. It had been a whole journey in the morning, walking with Q and Tamarack. That trip only took a few minutes driving with Mum and Tamarack again. Mum parked at the end of the road, right in front of your house. There wasn't a garage to use, but it didn't really matter if you parked on the street. You couldn't lock the path if it didn't go anywhere else. You, her, and Tamarack got up and stood around together on the sidewalk. Thanks for driving, reads Mum. You can come to my house now. A lot had happened since she talked about that in the classroom. Still, Tamarack hadn't forgotten the plan she made. A visit to the Bowman household? Am I invited too? That's right, your mum hadn't been there when Tamarack had come up with what you'd do after school. It was funny seeing Mum ask permission to go over to somebody's place. She was the person who was supposed to decide if it was okay to do something or not, but your mum was nice. Yeah. Thank you. I had been hoping to meet the rest of our neighbours, but I waited for Reed to be here before making the rounds. Lead the way, Tamarack. Tamarack would have tried to do that even if Mum didn't ask her to. The now leader spun around to change the direction and marched down the sidewalk towards the big grey house next to yours. There was no way you'd get left behind. You stuck right by her while your mum went along after you both. As Tamarack got closer, her pace got faster. The steady strut had turned into a speedy skip by the time she'd reached the porch. She was eager to get home, or she wanted to make sure she arrived there first. Tamarack smacked the doorbell and held it all the way down with her whole hand. It wasn't the kind of doorbell you had to press over and over to get it to work. As long as she pushed it in, a deep chime rung through the walls. Ding dong, and on and on. Tamarack squeezed the doorbell under her tiny hand. It wasn't going to stop. Your mum acted like the parent she was and spoke down to the other kid there, so the other kid heard in a reassuring voice. I think it's okay, you can let go. Mum understood appropriate behaviour in the grown-up world better than any elementary schooler could, and that wasn't it. But all the suggestion got was the same knowing assurance right back. No, it's okay. What if Omi is asleep? We'd be trapped outside forever. Break in, let's go. Tamarack wasn't an adult, but it was her house. She knew the rules, and for all you knew, she might have gotten to make up the rules herself. Maybe, but... While your mum softly tried to urge Tamarack to free the crushed button, the bell kept going and the door opened. Your nose realized it had happened before even your eyes could. It had gotten blasted with a perfumey smell so fast, like a human-sized spray of air freshener went off. Oh no, I hate perfume. Oh, she's pretty! The person who answered the non-stop call of the bell was a lady with long, pale, blonde hair going almost all the way down her back. Her nose was tiny. That must have been how she lived with the smelliness. She was smiling gently. Just about every part of her looked flowy and delicate. Only one thing was different, her necklace. That was big and gold and seemed like it'd be pretty heavy. Maybe she needed an anchor to stop herself from blowing away in the wind. I'm here. Welcome back, young lady. My, and you've brought guests. Hello. Tamarack finally slipped her hand off the button. She needed it to wave. Hi, Omi. Hello, good to meet you. I'm Opal S. This is my daughter, Reed. The two of us recently moved in. We arrived only yesterday. Ah. Her voice, which was another fragile thing about her, strained in a high-pitched exclamation. I thought that was you. I'd heard you were coming, after all. That's why I swept up the porch and left the welcome mat. Oh, that was you? I appreciate the gesture. Yes. It was my little way of greeting the newcomers to our quiet street. You had known that Matt was out of place in the front of the Warren house. Another mystery was solved. This time the culprit was Tamarack's family member rather than Tamarack herself. Mrs. Berman chattered on like leaving people unexpected stuff was nothing abnormal. My name is Dorothea. Tamarack is my only granddaughter. Her father is my only son. She's got a witch vibe, you know. And I do have a husband, Ernst? Yeah. He's still alive. Oh, he's still alive? Okay. But I ought to introduce him to you myself. Lord knows he won't do it on his own. She pressed the top of her hand on her forehead, craning back. The dangles on her necklace clanked against each other. Mrs. Berman acted very tired. And it probably was an act. You had to think so, since she sounded amused. It was like having a hard time was how she had a good time. If you see a crotchety old man wandering about, that's him. Don't you worry, he's not mean, even if he looks it. Just remember that Mr. Bowman is more afraid of you than you are of him. It is good to meet the both of you, Opal and Reed. The last part of her introduction wasn't for you and Mum. It was just towards you. You can call me Granny. Yeah, Granny! Alright, Granny. Yep, love that. She smiled at you, wide and welcoming. Meeting you meant getting a new granddaughter. Hey, Omi. Tamarack cut into the conversation with a sharp grin and her brows tight. She flapped one of her 2 long sleeves to draw even more attention. Reed is my best friend. That announcement caught everyone by surprise, including you, the person it was about. Mrs. Bowman's eyes got way bigger than you thought they could with how they looked normally. I didn't know that. When did you make a best friend? Yesterday. She said so, chuckling, like her granny was silly for not being able to figure it out. Tamarack really thought you were her best friend? Yeah, whoa! Tamarack was so nice, that was the best thing ever. Why would she? You couldn't believe it. You couldn't believe it, that was too incredible. That didn't make any sense. Tamarack was your friend, but you weren't sure she was the best one. That was what you thought about her too. You didn't think you deserved that. I don't know. When I was 10, what would I have thought? Tamarack was so nice. But I wouldn't think I deserve it, like, immediately, you know? Like, we just met. How do you know I'm the best? But I am the best, so. Tamarack was so nice. Yep. You didn't know what to do. Though you did notice the way your mum was watching the matching happy expression on Tamarack's and your faces. Mrs. Bowman was enthused as her granddaughter and her best friend. Oh, please, come inside, I insist. We need to get acquainted. No one had ever insisted you see their house before, unless what Tamarack said at school counted. You guess that's why Tamarack was that confident about saying you could come over, and why she told you to do it instead of asked. Granny had the same attitude about people visiting. That was lovely. Oh, that would be lovely. I cannot read. Wow. Mrs. Bowman went deeper into her home. Footsteps already echoing in the closed-off space. Tamarack bounded after her. Let's go, Reed. You and Mum were following behind Tamarack again, though this time it was her grandma who got to lead everyone. Mum shut the door after herself. The outside cold wasn't invited. It didn't only smell like old people. Inside the house, the air was stiff like it had gotten old too. Old people candy. Oh, I love it. A staircase went up and a narrow hallway went deeper inside. Huge flowers patterned the paper plastered over the walls, when you could see the walls anyway. The hall was crowded with shelves and tables, and those were cluttered with more things. It was sort of like walking through a museum, with all the fancy pieces to see, but it also reminded you of a storage closet that was stuffed with things you have nowhere else to put. So maybe a closet in a museum? Though you didn't know any museum or closet that had colourful candy sitting in a worn silver dish the way this house did. There were 2 kinds, bright see-through hard candies in see-through plastic wrappers and pale taffies you could see through that were twisted up in maxi paper. Mum passed by you, not even looking at the candy bowl. The side table it sat on was much closer to your height than hers. It was right in front of your face. Would I just take one? Okay, you wanted the candy, but no one mentioned it being okay, so you gave up. Yeah, honestly, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't take one, or think about taking one and just not take it. You kept walking behind your mum. Tamarack's granny showed the way down a hall and through a big opening in the wall. Past that was the living room. Or not. When Granny crossed the rug that was also flowered and sat down on a smooth green chair, she didn't call it that. This is the drawing room. I come here and I sit on my throne and entertain our guests. You can take a seat, but do be careful. These are antiques. Tamarack just hovered around the table. Hearing adults talk was one thing, but sitting down and doing nothing while listening to it was asking for too much. Sat on the couch, took a seat on the chair. Would I sit down on an antique couch in a person I don't know's house? You sat on the couch very carefully. It looked like the sturdiest option. You positioned your butt right along the edge with your back straight, touching the furniture as little as possible. Mum settled into the couch cushion next to you and leaned against the armrest to get even cozier. You and Granny were the only ones taking the antiques seriously. Mrs. Bowman didn't say anything over that, though she did go on to say many other things. The two ladies talked about each other and their kid and grandkid. Tamara's grandma was retired, you found out. Her husband was supposed to be too, she said with a strong opinion on the matter. Mrs. Bowman explained to your mum how he was constantly taking on temporary consulting jobs. And if not that, then he was being taken out for dinner or lunch or something else, so people could pick his brain for advice casually even if he couldn't be an actual employee. Oh no. You had no idea why anyone would say something like picking brains. It sounded so gross. It was because of that you had started paying attention to the words shared between grown-ups more closely. Mrs. Bowman and Mum were still talking. As if these people think half the town will fall apart without him. Oh, he was in construction work, remodeling, refurbishing, repairs. I see. Very apt comparison then. They both laughed, though Mum's polite chuckle didn't compare to Granny's hearty cackle. She gives witch vibes, I'm telling you, come on. But like in a good way, you know? Like a nice witch. Now, it's true that there's always something going on or another going wrong somewhere. Golden Grove isn't as young as it used to be. But there's only so much he can do when he's aged as those derelict buildings themselves. The opening and slamming of the door followed her declaration. For a second everyone stopped. Did Granny's description insult the house itself? No. Heavy steps came after the bang, and then a man you'd never seen passed by the opening in the hall. Opa! One hand gripping the armrest and the other swinging out towards your mum, Mrs. Bowman lifted herself off the swirly pattern cushion. That's him right now. Granny abruptly called out as if she'd caught sight of a rare animal in the wild and needed the rest of the team to get over there while they still had the chance. Though that wasn't right. Yelling would only scare the peaceful animal away. Instead, maybe she was trying to catch a shooting star before it dissipated for good. Oh wow. Okay. Except that one didn't work either, because Mrs. Bowman was able to make the meteor still. Mr. Bowman stood suspended in space, silently staring through the wall hole into the drawing room. Tamarac's Opa was very grey, his full suit, his dull shoes, and his short hair. He's the grandfather. The godfather. That was mysterious. What was mysterious were his eyes. They might have been grey too, or maybe you were tricked by all the other greyness, and they were actually blue. He pushed his hat higher on his forehead with a large hand, slow and steady. Afternoon. Hearing his voice cemented an impression that had started to build in you. It was a low, grumbling noise. The tone sounded the way his scratchy beard and bushy eyebrows must have felt. The sturdy older man, colourless and rough, was basically a stone statue that had come to life somehow, and was the absolute total opposite of Mrs. Bowman. Hi, Opa. This is Reed and her mum. They're the people in the other house. They're neighbours. Mr. Bowman mumbled briefly in response, and his eyes shifted away from the seating area. He wasn't talking about the news, but you got the impression he was thinking about it. Good day. He turned his body to match the direction of his gaze. Fine, go hide in your cave. We'll be here if you decide to join us after all. Mrs. Bowman showed her surrender and quickly lowered herself into the chair again. Dinner will be ready in a couple hours. You at least can't miss that. Mr. Bowman made his escape without looking back. He probably could miss that, if he tried. Where were we? I remember. Tamarac's grandpa had only said a few real words. You could count them on one hand. Her granny had to have said 100,000 times more than that and still had more to go. But your mum was talking too, and you could tell she wasn't ready to be done. She had her listening face on, not her how soon can I get it to stop expression. I don't know. You perked your ears, curious about what else you'd find out. Suddenly, for the first time in ages, Mum looked at you instead of one of the three Bowmans. She hadn't forgotten you were there too. Oh, Reed, are you fine staying longer? There's a couple of things I'd like to discuss with Mrs. Bowman while I can. As little of an impact as you had done on the adults, Tamarack still had enough to distract them all. Since her grandpa left, she'd been staring at the window and doing that thing where she bumped her leg around. She used her hip instead of her butt this time. With the way Granny daintily placed her hands on her lap, she really did look like a queen on her throne. He had to wonder, was she a kind queen or an evil queen? Why don't we let the two young friends play in the backyard while us old folks stay here to talk? You wouldn't go far, would you, Tamarack and Reed? And we'd come get you when it's time to leave. Would that be acceptable, Opal? It was weird to have somebody call Mum by her name, even if it was her name. She was Mum. That would be great. Excellent suggestion. Tamarack's bag stopped jingling. That was the only reason you heard her intent whisper. Come on, Reed. Neither of you had officially been given permission to leave before she zoomed out the room and around the corner in the same direction her Opa had vanished to. He hadn't been the only one who wanted to get away. Don't run in the halls, please. Knowing well that the warning wasn't going to change anything, Mrs. Bowman sighed in resignation. Ah, fine. No one listens to a word I say. Meanwhile, you hadn't moved an inch. Mum gave you the coaxing you need. It's alright, you can go play too. I'll see you soon. You went after Tamarack, stepping carefully through the unfamiliar house. Though there wasn't anything in your way. The furniture and knickknacks were all pushed against the walls. The only place that was clear of clutter was the center of the hall. Past the living room, there were doors to unknown places and other hole in the wall that went to a kitchen. You spotted Tamarack at the very end of the house. She yanked open a back door and bounded through. She left it wide open, a portal of light and gold inviting you through the dark. When you came to stand at the edge, you found out Tamarack had waited for you to catch up at the bottom of a couple uneven wooden steps. They were bent inward, like after being pressed down so many times they stayed stuck. It was your turn to leave a mark on that impression. One step, then another, and then both of you were outside. Invisible ribbons of perfume melted off your clothes, unable to live out in the fresh, freezing air. Just like Q's backyard, Tamarack's house had no fence around it. There was no way to tell when the yard stopped and the forest began. It was even more impossible to see where the forest ended. It might go on forever. That was all that was the same for the two places though. Instead of Q's secret hideout, there was a fancy table with two chairs that looked like it was there for Tamarack's grandparents. Hanging from a thick branch was a rope-strung tire swing, though part of the place had to be for their granddaughter. Woo! Tamarack hollowed a cry of freedom and skipped down the small stone path, even touching a blade of grass. She hefted the messenger bag over her shoulders, chucked it aside with a thunk, and flung herself through the hole of the tire. All you could see of Tamarack were her little legs kicking up in the air and her arms spread out past the width of the tire, so she was floating. The swing slowly twisted on its rope until it brought her eager face around. Hi, Reed. Grinned at her and went over. Tamarack's upright legs snapped down and she plunged the tip of her boots into the soft earth below. It was supposed to stop the tire from doing another spin, except she couldn't stop it all the way. The tire swing twisted her to the side. Tamarack held firm, jerking futilely in the tire to center it again. But none of that meant she couldn't keep talking to you. She happily explained how it all came to be. Owen and Opa got this just for me. They're too old to use the tire swing. Okay, that's so nice. It's funny to see them try to... It'd be fun to see them try to. Yeah. Think about it made you laugh. She snickered too. That'd be a terrible idea. You can't bend over that much. But then she wiggled her body and dug her shoes in even harder, trying to get out. Let's play something. Okay. Tamarack wiggled some more until she popped on the backside and landed in the grass on her butt. She got on her feet and came to where you were standing, right up close. Hey, I thought of something funny. You know what? No. Opa and opal are almost the exact same word. If your mum didn't have an L, she'd be an opa too. You thought that's how it was. Tamarack grinned, but the excitement of getting to go in the backyard began to settle. Then Tamarack left the open path in front of the tire, moving with purpose. Something was happening, or was about to happen. She pressed her fisted hands into her hips and spoke without turning around. Tamarack's hair fluttered animatedly with each word because she nodded while talking. That was it. That made it look like a fluffy gold sheep was the one saying it. We'd better start soon. It's gonna get dark. Start what? Finding some good stuff. There's a lot of it out here. There's a lot of it out there, you know. She reached down to collect her big bag, hooking it around her shoulder like normal. That's when she turned around and you were faced with Tamarack herself instead of the sparkly lamb side of her. Have you been to this place before? Not to this town. I only came here when I moved yesterday. The place I used to live was really, really far away. Let's go, England! Really? That's amazing. And we're the same again. I haven't been here for a long time either. But I've learned a lot already about outside and everything. All the forests in the world are different, and some places don't even have forests. This one is great because there's mushrooms and rose hips and acorns and great rocks and more. I can show you good spots to find things since you're newer to this forest than me. Wow, thanks. You're welcome. Let's get looking right now. Yeah. Together you and Tamarack began your treasure hunt at the edge of the forest. In bushes, at the base of the trees, on the rocks, across low-hanging branches, around fallen logs, nothing was left unexamined. When Tamarack found something worth saving, she placed it in the wildest, fattest stone on the path. That was to keep her fingers free to do more collecting. When you discovered something you wanted to take with you placed it on the table instead. Your pals grew rapidly as the two of you dashed back and forth from the clearing near the house and the wilderness a few feet away. Just like in class, Tamarack was fully focused and squinting hard. She only ever stopped snooping to rub her tattered sleeve ends into her eyes, then keep going. Maybe dirt was getting in her eyes with how close she was getting to the ground, and maybe bits of twigs too, since she wasn't afraid to shove her head in the bush. Leaves did get stuck in her hair, same as the first time you'd ever seen her. As time passed by, a shadow crept over the yard. An obscuring sweater pulled over the body of the cock holder. Like Tamarack's own sweater, it had a few holes here and there, and that were easy to see through. You and Tamarack were forced to limit your search to these rare spotlights. It wouldn't be possible to keep doing it for much longer. You glanced over at her. Tamarack crouched in the grass, encircled by darkness and trees. She shone under a stream of pale evening sun. A few strong rays hit her back, giving the illusion of golden fairy wings. Seeing her there that way made so much more sense than when you saw her in school or her grandparents' antique house. That was what was natural to Tamarack, being in nature. Even her name was a kind of tree. When Tamarack officially announced the end of her hunt, the day was reaching its end soon. That was probably the only reason why she was stopping. You didn't mind stopping either. Your treasure pile was already big and... Oh no. Uh-oh. It was big. That's fine. All that was left to do was gather it up. That was easier to think than to do. You struggled to get each one of the small, mostly round valuables into your grasp. Tamarack couldn't scoop everything in her hands at one time. Pebbles and rose hips rolled out of her grasp and of the stepping stones. That was close enough for an impatient kid. Tamarack rushed over to show you what she managed to find and carry. This is what I got. She nudged her hands full to bursting with wonderful things even nearer. An acorn dropped to the ground. Here, take whatever you want. But that's yours, and I already have a lot of that. I know. You have your own for yourself. You can take part of mine so you can also have things to give away. Or maybe you'd want to share what you got and keep the ones I give you, something like that. You can share with your mum or my Opie and Opa or anybody. That's the fun part. Oh, that was the answer to a puzzle you hadn't realized you were confused by. Tamarack said she went out in the woods all the time. She must have found enough things to fill her grandparents' entire house. Her granny would definitely not like that. She needed room for her own clutter. That was never a problem because Tamarack didn't hold onto the collection herself. She spread it out to everybody. Thanks, Tamarack. I think so too. That's kind of weird. I'll take some of yours, but only if you take some of mine too. I'll share with you too. The exchange couldn't be done smoothly. Neither of you had free hands to pass or pick up the presents. Tamarack settled for dumping part of her pile over the stuff already in your right hand. Then you took some of the finds in your left hand to give into her palms. When the trade finished, you had almost exactly the same amount of goods, but didn't feel the same. You knew that in one hand you held the treasures you found with your own effort, and in the other hand were the gifts from your friends. Both were important for different reasons. Still grasping the loose collection of forest finds, Tamarack marched off to the side, out of her backyard and into yours. You went after her curiously. I'm going to Q's house. He's going to be surprised. Oh, I don't know. You can't go to Q's backyard without asking. You only did that yourself by accident, so it didn't count. Oh, it's okay. Wait for me. I'll be right back. Tamarack crunched through the long grass and a million leaves. She really was doing it. Nothing could stop her. The sidewalk in front of the houses was a big half circle, and the back of them curved like that too. You stopped being able to see her after she rounded the far corner of your house. Your ears didn't pick up the sounds from her boots anymore. You were all by yourself. I don't know. That was sad. She left you there alone. And she did it while you were visiting her house. Finally remembering your full hands, you glanced down. You've been standing still with the treasures pulled in your fingers. The ones on the bottom of the heap were warm. It was hard keeping a perfect cup shape, and that wasn't anything to do with them. At least not right then. You were going to put them on the table again, but realized it'd be smarter to put them in your bag. You'd be safer there too. And you can take them home with you. You swung on a swing, let's go. Well, kind of. Mostly you flopped on the tire and let it drift in the lazy sweeps. It wasn't fun, but you didn't want to have fun. That was impossible. For a while you squinted at the treetops through the dappled light. You didn't see much past that. Same as the sky itself, the thick forest could take up your whole view. It could be everything from there was. Oh no, I cannot read. Oh no. But unlike the sky, the canopy was solid and almost in your reach. If you were an extremely tall adult, you might be able to touch it. That was another thing you liked about it. It wasn't some far-off thing that was barely real, like air. The forest was immense, and it was really there for you. And then, all of a sudden, you weren't the only kid in the big, wild world anymore. The noise was the first part of Tamarac's presence that reached you. The rest of her wasn't far behind. Tamarac came sprinting through the bend, kicking up a flurry of leaves behind her. Both her hands were waving in the air too. They were empty. Tamarac walked past the stone pathway like it was a finish line to a race and crumbled into the grass laughing. But the giggles turned into an achy yips once she landed all the way down. Ow, 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 I fell on the rocks in my pocket. She laughed some more, and out more too, each one taking its fair turn. Why do you have rocks in your pocket? I thought you were going to give them away. That's why you went to Q's house, right? I gave Q my things. I still got the stuff you gave me. Oh, thanks. Tamarac rolled off her side to settle on her tummy. She squished her big cheeks against her little fists, and she kicked her feet in the air. The rubber boots flopped around on her feet. You got the swings to stop and pushed out, then went over to where Tamarac was sprawled. She looked up at you. Her smile puffed at the sides like it did a lot. It was an invitation to join her below. You did, sitting carefully on the cool lawn in front of her. Hugh cleaned up trash, and now he's gonna get a surprise from the forest. Tamarac had enough excitement for 2 kids. Reed, out of all my friends I have here, you're the best one. Aww. It still surprised you that she said that. You'd heard it before a long time ago when you first came to her house. If she was gonna say it again, you figured it would have happened way before. But she wanted to do it then. She kept going. We came to the same exact neighborhood almost at the same time and are the same age. We're both girls. You have fun outside, and I do too. I've never ever met a kid who was just like me. That's important. That's serious. Tamarac had started shouting, then sucked in the loudness with a breath that came out next was low. Then sucked in the loudness with a breath, and what came out next was slow. You had to really listen to know. You and me are gonna be friends forever. Those words were something more than a regular promise, more than a pricky promise too. It was a swear. Not the bad kind of swear though. Let's, I hope so. Let's go! Tamarac best friends. Okay. Her dark red eyes were 2 perfectly round apples hanging in a bushy tree of golden leaves. They shone. The swing, the searching, the secret trip to Q's house, each were complete, and at that point, you were pretty sure Tamarac's final plan was to stay right there until grass grew around her. It was that moment when a door creaked open and 2 smiling faces looked over the yard. Your mum and Tamarac's grandma came to get you. It was hard to imagine they really spent the whole time sitting in the living room. Hi, Reed. I'm sorry to interrupt, but we've got to get going. Aw, bye, Reed. I'm gonna stay outside. Sending a smile to Mum, you pushed yourself to your feet. Bye, Tamarac. Mrs. Bowman didn't even question Tamarac remaining laid out on the grass. She left her granddaughter there and guided her guests in through the back door and up to the front one. Why couldn't you have gone around the house instead of through it? It was too late to tell them that because it was already done when you realized it. Mrs. Bowman stopped at the entryway, opening the door and fitting herself into a rare opening between the furniture to clear the path. Your mum kept going past her nice and orderly. On the porch, Mum halted and turned. The hostess had moved to stand in the doorway, so they were face to face. It was so good to meet you two. I'm sure we'll be seeing each other often. Good day. Of course, goodbye, and thanks for the talk. Mrs. Bowman nodded kindly and slowly pressed the door forward. Mum waved until she was doing it to a plank of wood. The door was shut. Then she let her hand drop and talk to you. Busy day, huh? But that was good. The words went high, a sigh of relief instead of low, which would have been a real contentment. Instead of something Instead of just something good happening, it was more like when you avoided something bad happening. That was so good, but in a different way than if nothing had been at stake. Time to go. Except before you left the Bowman porch, something made you stop in your tracks. There was a stranger strolling in the cul-de-sac, rolling a bike along with them. It was almost as long as the person was tall. The sight had a totally different impact on your mum. It pulled her forward. That was Mr. Lin. Mr. Lin, like Mr. Q Lin? That was Q's dad. Probably. It could be an uncle or a way older sibling. He wore a pale green sporty jacket and also a nice black dress pants. His hair was super neat, but styled in a fun way that was most grown-ups didn't have. That kind of introduced him to you without needing to say. Mr. Lin, whoever he was a real professional, but not all strict about it. Though, wait, why do your mum already know that? How do you know him? Well, we've talked about him many times, and you know Q, that's his father. I would have thought older brother or something, but okay. Okay, Q's dad it was. That didn't answer your real question. You racked your brain for the past conversations your mum was talking about. Nothing came up. Yeah, I know Q, but I've never heard anything about his dad. Confusion screwed up her face. She was also convinced that you knew as much as you were sure that you didn't. Wait, that's right. Suddenly she laughed and pressed her hand to her cheek. I never called him by his name to you. It's the real estate person who helped us find our house. Oh. Memories of Mum pacing around in your old apartment, getting excited whenever the real estate person would call with news, played behind your eyes. There was Q's dad on the other line the whole time. I've seen his picture. He has a website, and we've chatted over the phone. Yesterday was the first time we met in person. That's who I was waiting for to get our keys from. We'd arrived extra early, and he couldn't break away from some other appointments until the evening. You glanced away from your own parents' accused. It was easy to see how the two were related. They both looked really pleased with themselves and the whole world, even when nothing was happening. Q and Mr. Lin both liked bikes too. When you turned back to Mum, she had a huge, encouraging smile on her face. Let's see him over there. It'd be hard to move the bike for him to come to us. Mum's attention was split between gesturing to Mr. Lin to stop and getting you to go with her. One of her hands went up and the other went down. Hello. Q's dad reined in the moving bike and stood in place. Next, he waved. Hello, Miss S. What coincidence running into you out here. Good seeing you again. It's nice to see you too. This is my daughter, Reed. Oh, so she's the one? Hi, Reed. Your real estate agent folded his arms and tilted his head down. The hair in front of his face fell away, letting you see him clearly. This is a big moment. I can finally introduce myself after hearing so much about you. From your mum, of course, but Q had his own contributions. It feels like meeting a celebrity in person. Oh yeah, Q told you himself. He talked to his parents about what happened yesterday. Mr. Lin knew things about you from two different people. I'm famous in this town of resumes to meet me. Wow. Do I say hello? Or do I say, what did Q say? You know what? I want to know. Wait, no, I'll save. Where is the log? Save. Yep, there we go. 2, 1. Okay, let's go. Yep. What did Q tell you about me? He chuckled warmly. Q likes to talk, you might have noticed. Unless you ask him to keep something a secret, or he could guess on his own that he shouldn't be sharing it, there's likely nothing he hasn't said about his brand new neighbour. Thanks for finding his missing notes, by the way. You're welcome. The edges of your mum's mouth curled playfully. Mr. Lin happens to bring up Q's enthusiastic note-taking habit, and how those papers tended to end up everywhere. He's an industrious boy. A realization came to you in a flash. That was how she knew the message wasn't anything weird when you... That was how she knew the message wasn't anything weird when you showed her the paper airplane. She'd been getting insider info. But Then Mr. Cullen adjusted his glasses, and the topic of the conversation changed. Welcome officially to the neighborhood. I wanted to come by, see how you were settling in, but I wasn't sure when would be a good time. I hoped to catch both of you. There's an unfamiliar car in the road. I'm guessing that's yours, but the house is dark. Neither of you looked to be around. Yes, that's ours. I'm sorry you missed us. We were meeting the neighbors to the right. Tamara kindly invited Reed and me to her home. Dorothy and we had a talk, and we very briefly saw Ernest passing by. Don't apologize, that's perfect. If you get the chance to visit the Bowman house, I take it. And now you can come... Oh my god. And now you can come meet the other neighbors. Well, one other. You've already well acquainted with Q, and we've said our hellos there. Do you have the time to swing by? Personally, I'd love to introduce myself to Miss Lynn. Wow, she's really meeting every wife in the neighborhood, huh? She was really only answering for herself. Your mum asked for your thoughts before deciding on another meeting greet. Can we see Q's mum, Reed? Okay. Thank you. We can stop by now. That's great. Just give me a minute. Mr. Lin patted the handle of the bike, bringing attention to it. That was something he needed to deal with. He coaxed the set of wheels to move with an expert hand. He got it across the road, up the curb, over the grass, and onto Q's, also his, entryway. Mom gradually made the same trip. She kept a lot of distance between her and the real estate man, not wanting to risk even a slim chance of getting in the way. He went along at Mom's pace, so you stayed together. Mr. Lin rapped his knuckles on the white door of the red house. He busied himself during the way by tapping the angle. Oh my god, I cannot read. He busied himself during the way by tapping the bike handle instead and humming a soft tune. Someone, though it was probably Q's mum, opened it halfway to attend to a guest. The door was thrown open all the way by the second guest. The door was thrown open all the way the second the person realized who was there. Hello, honey. Did you lose your key? With an apologetic laugh, Mr. Lin stretched past the bike's front wheel to greet his wife by kissing her cheek. No, I wanted to come over. I figured this would be the quickest. Oh, no, I want to come over. I figured this would be the quickest way. Our new neighbors are here. Mrs. Lin peered further in, and there were the neighbors, you and Mum. Still staring ahead, Mrs. Lin stepped forward just in time to bump into her husband. He had made a move to get into the fenced area of the porch. Mrs. Lin gasped, and the bike shuddered a metallic cry. Mrs. Lin hastily grabbed the seat cushion to steady it. She leaned to the right for her next attempt to pass, so did Mr. Lin. Mr. Lin settled on pressing his back to the wall by the door while holding up the bike against himself. Mrs. Lin finally managed to shuffle by and reach the sidewalk, but not before muttering bashfully, "Sorry, sweetheart." "It's no trouble, go on." Mrs. Lin let out a breath to recompose her normal self after the unintentional dance with her husband and her husband's bike. Her clothes were light blue. Her hair was blue too. Way, way darker though. Yeah, I noticed that she looked very blue. So did Mr. Lin. She's very pretty though. Whenever she lifted her legs to walk, the creases in her dress moved like flower petals in the breeze. There was something so peaceful about it, even her voice drifted along quite gently. Now, Mrs. Lin, if you're the new neighbours, you must be Mrs. Opal and Reed S., is that true? Yes, precisely. Mum reached forward, offering a shake. Mrs. Lin grasped your mum's hand with one of her own and covered the top of it with her other hand. The two didn't exactly shake, really they squeezed each other for a second. They were hugging but with hands. After Mrs. Lin carefully unwrapped her fingers from Mum, her gaze drifted downwards. Mrs. Lin curled into a blueberry ball, bringing her chin to her knees. The edge of her spotless dress brushed the grass, but it brought her to eye level with you. Hi. She held up her hand for you to take to. You never would have guessed that was going to happen. Most adults didn't act like you were grown up. or that kids would be treated the same way as a grown-up was. Ooh. He happily shook. She didn't hold you in place and moved up and down with your motion. It's nice to meet you, Reed. Then she pushed off the ground and to stand up perfectly straight in one foot motion. You'd seen how much Q and his dad were alike because of their matching confidence. It was the same thing with his mum, except you needed a little imagination to make the connection. If Mrs. Lin was put on a super ultra fast forward, it looked a lot like how Q treated people. But now you'd seen everybody who lived in the street, plus some extras. All the other kids were about your age or 2 or 3 years older. For the adults, it was a lot trickier to put together ages. Except for Tamarak's grandparents, they were absolutely the most old. But when it came to non-grandparent grown-ups, 2 of them could be 1 year apart or have a 10-year difference with almost no way to tell. 10 years was the length of your entire life. It was impossible to imagine having that much time to just being an adult. Your best conclusion was that Mrs. Murray would probably be the youngest grown-up person, and your mum and Q's parents were somewhere in the middle. You wondered how your mum felt finding out that there were 2 people around her age, maybe, in the neighbourhood. Was that a big deal to adults too? Was she going to make friends with them like you did with Q and Tamarak? Could someone her age be friends with people who had been around as long as Granny and Mr. Bowman, or did that not work? Grandparents were double adults, super adults. Mum kind of acted like they were regular grown-ups, as respectful to them as kids had to treat her. But one way or another, Mum was going to have to make a life in Rolling Grove along with these people too. I'm sorry to be the last of my family who came to meet you in person. Don't worry about that. Mum got a huge advantages, all things considered. Your mum quirked her lips good-humouredly. Although, Q also beat you to it, and that was a closer race. Oh, a joke, a teasing one even. Mum made an attempt at being less professionally polite. You watched on at this adult interaction, wondering how it'd turn out. Seemed to go pretty well, because Mrs. Lin laughed. He was very excited. There's never been another child next door, until now, when two have come at the same time. Well, I hope Reed and I have lived up to expectations. I'd like to make a good impression on the magnanimous Q Lin. The other Mr. Lin came over and joined the conversation, showing off his now free hands with a shrug. He had gotten the bulky bike into the porch jail behind the mailbox so he could stop pulling it around for a second. Q had been out with friends since school ended, so we've yet to hear about what happened when he popped by your house in the morning. But I'm certain that new neighbours Mrs. Opal S. will get a good glowing report over dinner. Thank you. I'm usually the one giving performance reviews. Who knew it would be so nerve-wracking to be on the receiving end? Oh yes, terrifying. That was the type of humour your mum liked. Dealing with people was her whole job. She would pretend when it was something challenging. You didn't know Q's mum well enough to be sure if that was also a joke, or if she meant it seriously. But you guessed anyway. She sounded actually scared of the idea. Plus, Mr. Lin went for an earnest answer instead of messing around. He had to know best. Ladies have nothing to fear. No one is giving you a failing mark, trust me. And I can already report that my son is entirely fond of your daughter. Now that is wonderful news, because my Reed is just as attached to your boy. That was right, Q and you are already friends. The final neighbour you met spoke sweetly, and on behalf of the entire family. We'll have to give them plenty of time to nurture their friendship. Mrs. Lin slipped her arm around Miss Lin's. They were unified physically and legally and in this opinion. I'm glad we're on the same side here. Q's parents were as cool as he was. Now, I need to apologise myself for cutting this introduction so short. We have to get home. There's more packing to do before the day's over. I absolutely do want to speak more another time though. Oh, that's fine. Yes, we understand completely. I imagine it's a big job, getting a new house and always is, even when it hasn't been left to collect dust. A bit. Luckily, it looks as if most of the furniture already there had been worth keeping after a good scrubbing and polishing. Is that so? I thought that'd be the case. It was quite a perk of the property. Seems like they had good advice picking a location. That was said with a sly smile and side eye to her husband. Mrs. Lynn had a streak of charm too. Thanks, honey. Mr. Lynn put her hand on the back of his head and one on the corner of his glasses before leaning back to laugh. He wanted to make sure nothing fell off. You guessed. But if you do need help with any of the heavy lifting, you're welcome to let me know. I'll call Yi. She was a gymnast in college and can do more pull-ups than me. Suddenly, Mrs. Lynn's dark eyes went saucer wide. She couldn't get them back to normal size, so Mrs. Lynn slammed them shut instead. That wasn't the way to get the rosiness off her cheeks. That was the biggest reaction you'd seen from Hugh's mum so far. She was the one who started the praising. Come on, please. We should both help if it's needed. Your mum got a chuckle out of the next exchange too. There you have it. The Lynns are at your service. Thank you for the offer. Thank you for coming over and read. You're both welcome over any time. Goodbye. Good evening. Bye, Mrs. Lynn. With a come-along gesture angled your way, Mum turned to leave. The two of you followed the sidewalk around the centre of the street. From there, you set up at the grand old building you were allowed to live in. It was yours and Mum's. After walking down the road into the town, attending the school, and visiting with your neighbours, this place was where you were returning at the end of a long day. A thought struck your heart as much as your brain. You were going to be seeing that view for a long time. No matter how unfamiliar each sight and sound and person in Golden Grove was then, one day it was going to be normal. That was exciting to picture. You could be like you, someone who knew the ins and outs of everything. Someone who actually had memories and bonds with the place they lived in. As if the world, or your mum, was trying to prove that this could be a regular thing for you, Mum didn't pause breathlessly at the welcome mat like she had the day before. She just took out the same black spiral keychain loop she'd always used and picked one of the keys off it to unlock the door. Mum put that house key on the coil? Guess so. Then she went in, not doubting that you'd do the same. You did. She hit the lights. For all your musings about normalness and regularity, when you glanced around the living room, it was a bit too familiar. You'd been at school for hours, seen and done so much, while your mum was supposed to be here unpacking, so why did it look exactly the same? Almost exactly. The stuff you stepped on had been put away. Still, there was the same amount of boxes piled uneven in the corner, the same sheets draped over the furniture. The dust you wiped down the night before was only the hint that couldn't be transported back in time to where you first saw the place. She must have had a lot of important things to do. I've been busy, if you couldn't tell, and I bet you couldn't. A sing-songy cadence carried her leading words. It wasn't a living room. I spend it often making it livable. And since it wasn't, can you guess what it is? Okay. The kitchen? The bathroom. I feel like the bathroom is important. Is it my room or your room? The bathroom. No, not that. Much better. Your new room is ready for you. It's clean and dust-free and I've already filled in some of the shelves. All you need to do is put out your bedding. Make sure it didn't miss any of your things. Enjoy. Your room was there and waiting for you. Mum was the best. The amazement was clear in your face. Your mouth was wide open after all. It made your mum grin widely. Go check it out. I'll be in my own room. I've got a couple of hours of work into dressing that up, but it's not ready quite yet. Mum's pair of cranberry eyes wandered around, taking in the current state of the first floor. Ideally, neither of us will have to sleep in the living room tonight. Okay, Mum. You and Mum kept walking together up the stairs. In the hall, your paths parted. Your room was the one closest to the stairs. The main bedroom was farthest away. The room in between those remained a mystery. You never lived in a house with extra space before. The apartments from before barely fit the two of you. Anything was possible now. Grasping the cool metal handle, you pressed it down. The knob twisted until it was pointing straight to the floor, and it was kind of stuck. You had to give the door a real push to get it free from the frame. Once it had gotten past the initial jam, it moved with ease. So you watched the tall door swing open and then stepped inside. Hello, you're about to enter the room and decorating screen. At the start of every step, except for step 4, you'll be able to add personal touches to your bedroom. The older you get, the more control you have of your space. As I did in step 1, you can choose between different beddings and some small positions like toys and decorations. The furniture, overall arrangement, wallpaper, and so on can be altered in this step. To choose between options, you select one of the 4 areas, then choose the elements you want to have for that area. After that, go back and you can choose a different area to customize, or end the decoration session. We hope you'll enjoy settling in and making the space your own. Okay, let's do the bed first. Okay, bed 1, bed 2, 3, 4, oh wow, okay, 5, canopy, helmet, okay. Bed 5, bed, this one. Helmet, canopy. I don't want a canopy, too much spiders. I like the open space above my bed. Do I want a canopy actually? It'd be good for, no. Helmet. Helmet. Do I want a helmet? No. Well, do I? Yes. Helmet over there. Okay. Desk area. Books. Oh, I had so many books. There's bracelets. Glowing stars. Musical sheets. Glowing stars. Do I want glowing stars? You know what? Yeah. And bracelets. I had bracelets when I was a kid. I don't really wear jewellery, but I know I had them. Letters themselves. Okay. Crayons. Stuffed bird. Stuffed elephant. I want the crayons. Bird or elephant? Nah, that's fine. Trunk area. Okay. Giraffe. A rabbit. Sheep. Clothes. Oh, hello. Kickball. Soft sheep. Oh, I used to have a little sheep. I still have him. It's like so old. Like as old as me almost, I think. Okay, soft sheep. Clothes. Do I want to throw my clothes around. Cake ball. Do I want the ball? Yeah, I want the ball. Okay. Yeah. This is done. Okay. Oh, that's nice. Okay, Okay, let's go. And done. Let's mop on the bedroom, guys. Let's go on. Oh. Wow. Okay. Wow, your room was something any kid would be proud of. It was wonderful. You were so happy you made it. It almost made you sad. That would do. Wow, your room was something. It was wonderful. You were so happy. It almost made you sad. It had taken until nighttime to get your things just how you wanted them. You stepped into a corner to admire your handiwork. The floor space of the room was bigger than your last one. The ceiling was a lot lower though. It sloped with the roof of the house, and the windows were angled towards the treetops and sky. You thought you had something really special here. And then there was a knockout and then a voice. The tilting roof caught the sounds and directed them straight down into your ears. Reed, can I come in? Yes. The handle jingled and jerked. The door was resistant to Mum opening it too. She figured it out, though, and let herself in. Hello there. Not so discreetly, Mum surveyed your efforts at decorating. You watched her just as closely, eager for someone to appreciate your room as you did. It looks great in here. You did a good job unpacking. Exactly, it was a great room. I'm pretty much finished myself, but it's late. Let's take a break from that and chat. It's been a long day all around, and back and forth. Sure, Mum. Okay, here it goes. We're still not entirely done, even now. Your Mum pulled her folded arms in even more, and her mouth pinched too. We should talk about how things will be once I'm back to work. I won't be able to drop you off or pick you up from school most days. I'm sorry. It does seem common for kids in this town to walk or ride bikes to class at least. You had a bike? I had a bike when I was a kid. I loved biking as a kid. Oh, I don't do it anymore. I should get back into biking. That's another thing. Mum made extra sure got moved to the house along with your backpack. She must have known it could come in handy. It'll be up to you if you'd rather go on foot or use your bike. You got to see that way there, and you shouldn't ever be the only one on the path. You weren't scared to do stuff without her, but you liked spending time with Mum. It would have been fun to go together at least sometimes. Well, she had her job to do. You just have different kinds of fun. Accepting the inevitable, you nodded. Alright, that's one matter attended to. Here's part 2. What to do after you make it back from school. You'll be done with your class a good few hours before I'm off the clock. Mrs. Bowman and I were talking while you were outside with Tamarack. She offered to keep an eye on you while I'm away. She's retired and insisted it'd be no trouble. That can mean you go to Tamarack's house for the afternoon, or it could be Mrs. Bowman popping in every now and then to check on you if you're playing at home or outside. Tamarack is already your friend, so it's not as if she'd mind you being around regularly. Mum had one finger and kept on with the explanation. Of course, that's not the only choice. We've got options. Well, I didn't get a chance to officially ask. I bet the Lynns would be equally fine if you wanted to hang out at their place. They're good people. I know Mr. Lynn decently well at this point. Plus, there's someone certainly extended an invitation to visit whenever you wanted. He's sociable, and even I can see you're in with him. I can also look into lessons and extracurriculars being offered in town. You could do some days instead of staying in the neighborhood. Maybe you'd want to take up an instrument or learn how to dance, and I would be able to come get you from there when it was done. The hand finally came down. That must have been all the possibilities she could think of. Okay, okay, sounds fun. Sure, I can do stuff without you. It all sounds fun to me, sure. Looks like I didn't need to worry. Mum stopped squeezing herself as much then. Still, there's no reason to plan out the rest of our lives tonight. The two of us will figure it out. That was something you'd heard a lot. No matter what you went through, your mum never stopped believing you and her would manage. For a moment, she gazed past you at nothing in particular. Sometimes it felt strange, remembering how you were actually there, when all the stuff you had to keep up with stopped and you could just think. Maybe your mum felt that too. She blinked and her eyes fell back on you. Mum smiled. But our neighbours are certainly nice, huh? All 6 of them. We had a lot of luck here. Lucky couldn't even describe the incredibleness of what moving here brought. No words were needed for her to understand your thoughts on it. Your face said enough. With a grin, Mum stuck her hands over her jeans. Now, if you don't mind me changing the subject to an entirely different matter, let me just say, isn't it time? As a reward for how much we've done, and because the loaf of bread is ours at this point, and also because even if it wasn't, I didn't want another sandwich. I'm taking the 2 of us out. I've heard that local diner is a gem. Oh, okay. Whoa! Then there's nothing else to discuss, for this is. Okay. Well, you got dinner at home too, you and Tamara do, so really, we're definitely hungry. A dinner with your mama and you. It happened basically every single day out of your life, but it could still be new and interesting. Mum smiled as you did. Let's get going. I'll get my scarf. Make sure you wear good shoes. It'll be chilly out there, and I'm starving. Same for you. Your stomach was huge. It was a huge empty pit. If it didn't eat soon, it might suck you in. You did everything you could think of doing before leaving as fast as you could do it. Then you were braving the unknown in search of sustenance. Oh, you were outside at night. That was not the same as walking around during daytime. The orange hued street lamps glowed like torches. The formerly orange trees turned an unnatural purple, and the tarmac expanse of the cul-de-sac could easily be a perfectly still and a steep lake. If you tripped, you could fall in and disappear forever. That kind of sounded like the start of a story. Ideas of what might happen on such perilous adventures were already filling your head. But Mom wouldn't let you play in the dark. You shook off the night dream, or would a night dream be a normal dream? Either way, you focused on not being left behind. Mom let you through the house gate and unlocked her car. You got right in. Rapidly, the car rolled into motion. Tree after street post after tree flew past. You couldn't see anything else. Unfortunately, Mum also wasn't sure what she was looking at. She had trouble figuring out exactly where the local diner was. The radio had to stay off. This required the utmost focus. It was tense during the silent drive. You and Mum were on your own, in the dark, in a town you'd never been before. Trying to find a restaurant you'd also never been to before. Mum was patient though, she never gave up. In the end, on the outskirts of Golden Grove, you found the place. It had to be right, because across the top was a massive lit-up sign that said the diner table. The diner table. Diner was in the name. Mum noticed that too. She wound the steering wheel to turn into the parking lot, a wry smile playing on her face. The diner table, not the dinner table? Someone to get an A in their spelling test? Wow. It's the perfect name for a diner. Yep. It's memorable, at least. The car came to a stop under the glow of the building. There were no lamps in the parking lot, but that only made the area more noticeable. Light poured from front windows larger than you were. It was a beacon of hospitality deep in the forest and high in the mountain. After unbuckling, you each went out. Mum led the way to the entrance. She held the door open and swept out her other hand as if to say, after you. Autumn nights in Golden Grove had such a bite. You felt a comfortable shiver going through the outside of the diner to the inside. It was warm and toasty here, and even smelled warm. The inviting scent of hot food hit you first, with a whiff of smoke underneath. You pictured a grill with charred steaks and hamburgers sizzling. There was coffee too, which somehow always smelled burnt even though it was mostly liquid. Maybe that was why coffee was so dark. Someone found a way to overcook water and other people decided to drink it, including your mum, who never had a morning without it. Rubbing your stiff hands up and down your goosebump-covered arms, you glanced around more. Who else decided to be there at the diner table on a chilly Monday? A man in a trucker hat, jabbing a knife into a thick cut of ham, 3 sweater-clad women, each with a mug in hand, and some teenagers huddled in the back booth and splitting a stack of pancakes. Mostly, though, it was nobody. 10 times more people could fit, maybe 20 times, so you had a clear view of the room. The diner table was full of different colours. You could list of greens, oranges, blues, yellowish ones. But all of them were dark or faded, so it didn't feel colourful. Kind of like your classroom had grown up and gotten old and sleepy. you'd be right to want to have dinner here. It's a very, nice place, actually. The curtains are a little strange, I think, but not that bad, you know. Oh, no, actually, I love the curtains. Because then you can pull them and people won't be able to look in. Soon, a tall lady with tall hair came over from the kitchen to the main counter. She said she was the hostess and would show you a table. Your mum negotiated for a booth instead. Plenty were open, after all. The woman agreed to those terms and grabbed some menus off the stand. Thank you. Mum let the employee lead from there. For her, the biggest treat of going out to eat wasn't the food. It was that once she was at the restaurant, her work was done. No cooking or cleaning for a change. She didn't have a mum or a dad or grandparents around to do it for her. So letting strangers she had to pay to do it was the best she could get. The hostess took you further into the restaurant, past the sweater gals and not as far back as pancake pals. She left the pile of menus on the table. Thank you for stopping by. Promise your server will be there to help soon, and walked away in a matter of seconds. Mum slid into a muted red sea with a multicolored geometric pattern across the top. Then she patted the outer space spot for you to take. You sat on the bench across from her. Yeah. Alright, Miss Independent. Make yourself at home. This is nice. She spoke quietly while perusing her options. The diner table had unwieldy menus, as long as your entire arm. Oh, Mum. Okay, hold on. My microphone is messing up. Mum didn't bother holding it upright. Instead, she flipped through the laminated pages with the menu lying flat. There was a lamp directly above your booth. It reflected blindingly off the plastic, but between the glare you caught glimpses of the colourful pictures dotted in between texts. Eggs and sausage, French toast dusted with powdered sugar, a basket of chicken strips, steak and mashed potatoes, a bright green salad and more. Diner food in its purest form. Your mouth began to water already. Look, there's a kids section. The usual place to check, though since it's a special occasion, it's okay to get any meal, even the pricey ones. What? You were almost never allowed to do that. Mum really wasn't in a good mood. Did she get a big bonus for moving or something? You could only imagine. But not for long, because another person approached your table. Hello, I'm Yusuf. I'll be your waiter tonight. Thank you for coming. Great, hi. Yusuf had warm brown skin and warmer brown eyes, though his hair was a cool black. He kept it up in a neat ponytail. A heavy, buckle-strapped apron with a checkered pattern hid his normal clothes, and a short beard covered much of his facial features. It didn't hide his welcoming smile. He had a generic notepad and pressed a pen to it, poised for taking notes. That made you think of Q right away. The server's attention remained fixed on Mum, his brows raised curiously. There was no way he could recognize her, though maybe that was why she drew a special interest. Are you passing through? No, moving in. Mum said that please tap on the menu in front of her. Just yesterday, actually. There was an immediate shift in the man's attitude. He took the pen from the paper to instead fold his broad arms. Talking to a server or someone behind the counter was really different than talking to them when they weren't working. Probably because when a person was doing a job, everything they were meant to say was decided by a boss or a whole giant company. And all of a sudden it seemed like Mr. Yusuf the waiter had clocked out. Welcome to the town. Can I ask your names? Ah, sure. Mopal S. This is my daughter, Reed. Thank you. I'm Kian Yusuf. I also live in Rolling Grove. He lifted the notepad in front of his chest, pretending to be a waiter. Can I get you anything to drink? This water's fine. Yeah, you could have said that for her. It didn't matter how big an occasion it was. Paying for drinks at a restaurant was still going too far. Then let me rephrase. What I mean to say is, please get a drink. It will be on the house. Let's go! Whoa! Oh no, you don't need to do that. I know, but I would like to. I'm only feeling it as a server tonight. I'm allowed to make these decisions. Even when insisting on something, Mr. Yusuf had a gentle way of putting his words. He could have been the narrator of a storybook, no problem. What harm is there in being hospitable to those you'll be seeing often? If you want to return the favour, come back another day. Well, you make a good point, Yusuf. She was being honest. Your mum would have told him if he was saying nonsense. Only reasonable arguments could be tolerated, and Mum was practical, not a stickler. If you're sure, I'll have a cup of water and a root beer, extra ice. I haven't said that in years. I feel a bit festive. Mum's unit mood was contagious, and Yusuf gave a rumbly chuckle. It's a festive day, isn't it? I imagine you're celebrating your new home. I could add a scoop of ice cream to that. She boggled at Yusuf and his many sweet suggestions, though it was with a smile. There was no reason to go through the process of accepting a kind gesture again. Mum embraced it wholeheartedly. A root beer float it is. Root beer float. He repeated her words as he wrote them down, speaking even more softly than before. Well, your mum, a person who had never ordered anything more exciting than water with a slice of lemon for your entire life, was gonna get a root beer float. Lactose intolerant representation, let's go. You'd like to get ice cream sometimes too. Now what do you want, Reed? You told the waiter what you were thinking yourself, and what you said was, ooh, okay. I don't like soda. Ginger ale, apple cider, hot apple cider, glass of milk, hot tea, normal root beer, some lemonade, Shirley Temples, milkshake, let's go milkshake. Oh, that's technically a drink, even if it's in liquid form. I'm getting a root beer float. It'd be hypocritical to draw the line there. Alright. Milkshake. After a nod, Yusuf transferred the pen to the same hand that held the notepad. He lowered them both. I'll return shortly with drinks. Please take a minute to browse the menus. He left you there, waiting with the wide, purposeful strides. Leaving with wide, purposeful strides. Mum watched him walk away. Small town hospitality is a great treat, isn't it? Yeah. You quietly glanced through the meal options. During that time, the man who had the ham and the hat left. The ham was gone, he still had the hat. Then Yusuf reappeared to serve a round of drinks. You put in the dinner order before he left. Dinner order before he left you to enjoy his gift. Enjoy it you did. From the very first sip, it was so yummy. Your mum savoured the once-in-a-decade root beer float as slowly as possible. She didn't care if the ice cream melted. Nothing was loud or fast or busy at the dinner table. A person pretty much had to take it easy in a place like that. There was no other way to be. When it arrived, the main course tasted great. Your rumbly stomach was grateful for that. Mum shared all about her day, including a horrifying story about how she thought there was a mouse in her bedroom. But after catching it underneath one of the moving boxes, it turned out to be larger than a normal heap of dust. She insisted that bad lighting in there could have fooled anyone. She asked you what happened during your afternoon too. And then the food was gone, sort of. Ooh. I ate a lot when I was a kid. You were able to finish every bite, your mum didn't. Mum hardly touched half of the sides that came with her home-style meatloaf. She planned to take them home to add to her lunch tomorrow. Plates had been emptied to get stacked, and used napkins were piled on top. Your mum made sure the table was as neat as a mess of dirty stuff could be. The tower of dishes caught your waiter's attention, and Yusuf approached your booth once more. He always had something in hand when he stopped by. This time it was a frayed faux leather folder. Yusuf placed it on the table. You got a better look then. In gold letters across the top it said, "Thank you." He'd brought the check before Mum needed to ask for it. Hello. Hope you enjoyed your meals. You are wonderful. Thank you for asking, and thank you again for the drinks. Mum's praise brought a grin to Yusuf's face. The local waiter toyed with a buckle on his apron, trading it like it was a medal of honor pinned to his chest. He served his customers well that night. Thanks for coming in. You pay at the front. Sure, I'll handle it. Oh, and can we get a couple to-go boxes? Yes. That's great. One more question. Mum lowered her voice into an exaggeratedly strained whisper, as though the people in the next booth over were secretly listening to the conversation. The diner table? She had seriously not let that go. Is that put on purpose, or did someone miss an end? Grimacing, Yusuf glanced over his shoulder. He shared her pain and her concerns about being heard. I would not have chosen that if it had been up to me, but yes, that is the intended name. Huh, there you have it. That's all. Thank you for your gracious help tonight, Yusuf. We feel extremely welcomed. Glad to hear it. Good night, Opal and Reed. Bye, thank you. Yusuf offered one last friendly smile, then took the pile of dishes and 2 cups off to the kitchen. Mum had a few words as she got to her feet. Stay in the booth while I'm gone. I'll come right back, then we'll pack up the leftovers and head home, okay? Yep. She left in the opposite direction Yusuf had gone. Her footsteps were muted in thumps against the thin carpet. You had the booth all to yourself then. None of the grown-ups were left. Full and warm and sleepy, you felt every second of what you'd been through lately. You'd done so much, Emmett. Oh no. A bird just flew through my window. Okay. You'd done so much and met a lot of people. How did that happen in only 2 days? It was unbelievable. Against your will, your body slid lower in the booth. Gravity was suddenly a lot harder to resist. Sitting tall was no longer an option. Your drowsy gaze wandered towards the window and the dark night beyond. There'd been nothing in the parking lot besides the diner, not even lampposts. You hadn't expected to look at anything in particular, but it was raining. That you could see. Water streamed down the glass pane, some point between when you walked from the car into the dining table. The first sprinkle of fall began. Yeah, rain can be nice sometimes. Some days you'd wish it would go away. Relaxing even more, you stared absentmindedly at the black panel. Each time you opened your eyes after the slow, heavy blink, the pattern of droplets clinging to the window changed. There were endless orange and red and yellow and gold leaves in the grove, but that wasn't everything striking about the current season. The weather, with the thick grey clouds that shrouded the world, was just as important as the core autumnness of a place. When you thought of fall, the picture in your head was of leaves and drops of water falling. And it had arrived. You'd arrived too. When your family wanted to go out to eat, you went to a local diner and the waiter there treated you special because you were local. When you needed to leave, you had a house with a room that was all set up and waiting for you to go back to. When tomorrow came, you'd continue your studies as a student at North Acre Elementary School. You were in room 24 with Mrs. Murray as the teacher. When you saw your neighbours, you'd know who they all were. And you had friends. You were going to be in that place for the rest of autumn. You'd be there still for winter when the new year came. Seasons would be coming and going with you in the Golden Grove, for you weren't sure how long. What you did know was that every moment of it, was how your life was not your life. Ah, that's very nice. Now that you're beginning your life in Golden Grove, you may want to check back on the details of your characters or update them. The info button on the right of the screen will bring up a menu with several options. First is your details. Here you can change your sticker, swap between multiple sets of pronouns if applicable, toggle dress-up sections on and off, and update your nickname preferences. You can also check your relationship with Q and Tamarack with Q relationship and Tamarack relationship buttons on the left. Enjoy your time in Golden Grove. Okay. Info pages. My details. Ooh. Oh, she's very cute. Look at her. Okay. Okay. Preferences. Okay, I'll save it. Yeah. What are these? Oh, these little icons, okay. What are these? I don't... What? What is this? Yes. Okay. Accessories. Okay. Huh. Oh no, okay. Overlayers. So I can wear like a jumper for winter. I should probably have done that last time, but it's whatever, it's fine. Yeah, since it's winter, we should probably, you know, or autumn, I guess, but like still. A jacket. Where's the colours? Let's go. Is it all? Yeah, this colour jacket. Nice. Yeah, jacket. Okay, clothes. Awesome. Alright, yep. Oh. Okay, hello again. We have another brief tutorial for you. It's time to explain the concept of linked moments. All the scenes... Hello, dog. Okay. Oh no, my dog's barking. It's probably someone at the door. It's fine. All the scenes in the game have bits and pieces and certain choices that will end up impacting later parts of the story. However, these are some sections that are especially tied together. The moment walks and the moment wheels are an example of that. They're linked moments. Even though you chose walks, you can still pivot to the wheels moment. That's because the two stories share an introduction. If you chosen wheels first instead, the opening scene would be the same. In this linked opening scene, you and Samrak would have different ideas of how to spend a weekend. You can be a tiebreaker or leave it up to them. But either way, the group will plan to do other suggestions on another Saturday. When or if you chose to do the second moment in the pair, the game will acknowledge how it was already a set plan you'd made in advance. If you replay the game, it's definitely suggested to switch up the order you do moments to see how things change. There aren't any other linked moments in step 1, though there will be more in step 2 and step 3. Okay, we will end this here, in the linked moments thing. So as I'm understanding it, it's like just a short thing, right? Okay, so so we'll do the moments. There are 2 moments, I think. Depends how long they are, but probably both of them in the next week. So yeah. Goodbye.